and let's get started now with practice 6-1, creating a SaaS to SaaS integration flow. If you review the prerequisites, the main issues here is for you to have already created two cloud adapter connections. Hold on. Yeah, sorry. Sorry. So let's get started where we are. We are at, engagement cloud. Uh, s- So if you review the main issue here is to you have already created two cloud adapter connections, one of the engagement cloud, which we call the sales demo connections, and other for Oracle Service Cloud, which we call the right now demo connection. So what it says that we are going to do, we are going to create a use case where the Oracle engagement cloud is going to be our client that's going to be sending information to Oracle integration cloud to retrieve a list of business objects that are called right now incidents that are related to an account in Oracle Sales Cloud. So this will correspond to a right now organizations, and they will come back to the Sales Cloud client and returned as Oracle Sales Cloud incidents once those transformations are completed. So let's get started. Part one. There we'll create a new integration flow. We'll go back to our designer portal, integrations page, create a new integration using the app-driven orchestration style. We are going to call this integration right now incidents for Oracle Sales Cloud or OSC. I'm going to copy and paste that as I go and get that first part, set up. So we click on integrations. I'll click on create app driven orchestration style, select, and I'll paste in our name and just use my Ora 0228 is my unique identifier here, and again I'll all the other information is optional, so we can just go ahead and click create now, and notice it takes me to our page ready for us to configure the trigger, which will be our next instructions. To create the trigger, we are going to use the sales demo. We are going to call that particular endpoint OSC request for that endpoint, and the description is optional, so I'm going to skip that as well. So let's go in there and look for our sales demo. There it is. Essentially, yeah, what this wizard is doing now is actually creating a design time connections to the Oracle engagement cloud, so we can integrate in the metadata uh, that would be available to us in the form of business objects and events and that sort of thing. So this initialize can take several seconds before it finally pops up. All right, mine up is here. I'll paste in the name of our request, and I'll click next. Again, loading metadata request. So information about what kind of interface we would design for our request. Once this page is rendered, then that means it's connected to the engagement cloud, and that has retrieved all that information that is associated with that particular endpoint. While that's loading, let's go ahead and back to our instructions to see what we are going to be doing next. Yeah, we are going to be configure this with business objects options, which is typically selected by default, and we'll locate the account business object, which will look something like this, and then we can click on next. So let's do that now. We notice business events is there other options. This objects is one of we want. If account wasn't readily available, I could search for it here by starting to filter out and look for things that match that search. And so anyway, there's my account with this object. I have selected it, and I'll click next. Let's go back to our instructions. Next is the response page. So we decide how we're going to respond back to the client. It is going to, first of all, is it none? Is there going to be no response? It will be delayed. callback response, or will they block and wait as an immediate or request response parent? That's what we are going to choose, and we are going to choose to return an incident. This is going to be Oracle Engagement Cloud incident that will come back to define this as a synchronous operation. So I'll notice immediate already selected by default. I can start typing INC, and there it is. There is that incident business object. Click on next, and you'll notice that once you have done that, it's building the interface for us, and it will drive me to the response page or the I'm sorry, the summary page to let me know what kind of interface that was. We have designed one that accepts an account objects from engagement cloud, and then they will block and they will return with an incident objects at this point. We just simply click on done, and it is configured. Let's go back to our lab instructions. We have clicked on done, and all we're going to do now is kind of update our layout back to the horizontal view and reset that for step 9. Let me go ahead and do that now, and reset. And to save my work as I go, I always like to save my work as I go, and so I don't have to do anything again. Let's take a look at what's next here. Here next is in step 10 and 11. We are going to select tracking from the action menu to use the party ID with the account as a primary tracking field. So let's go ahead and do that now. We will click here on action tracking, and within the account you can see there's a lot of different data type might be coming in. Uh, we happen to know that party A will always be coming in, and we can use that as a tracking field. Again, you can drag and drop this across to here, or you can simply push it over with this little field. Now, sometimes it's good practice to go ahead and give it a renaming of the things we could do that. For example, call this account ID or something different. But in this particular case, since the instructions told us to leave it alone, I will leave it alone, so we don't get confused for various exercise. But this is important point is just because that's the name of the tracking field doesn't mean that has to be tracking name. So we click on save, and once again save as we go back to the uh, instructions. Moving on to step 12, we are going to hover the mouse over right there between the initial request that comes in, and we are going to invoke something. We are going to invoke the Oracle Service Cloud right now using that demo, using that connection, and drag, put that in place, and keep that endpoint a name. We'll call it get incident from RN or from right now. So let's do that now. So we'll hover over here, look for our invoke convection, and there is our right now connection, and we'll paste in that name. Discussion is optional. Click on next. All right. So let's take a look at our use case here of what we have need to do. What we need to do is we need to set up a single operations for the operation mode. We're going to go to right now object query language and change that to query objects. And here we actually have right now language query that's been provided for us from somebody who knows how to look up incident information based upon an incident organization ID. So I'm going to save that to make it easy to do, and then we can do our little test. Our box will look like this. This is screenshot we done. So let's do that now. We make sure single is there by default. Change that to right now query language and query object. I'll now paste in that select statement, and then if I refresh this a little icon right there, that populates this little org ID, so I can do a test. Now if I look at my instructions, say it says good test value is an organization is 5. So let's type that and execute a test for that query. It's going to go to right now cloud service and actually use that to return a list of incidents that are going to be returned from Oracle right now. Excellent. Our Oracle Service Cloud. So now we have done that. That all we do click on next, go to summary page and review. We click on done, and our integration should look like this. Let's go to the next, and indeed this summary page looks good. Click